Antithesis. The placing of a sentence or one of its parts against another, to which it is opposed to form a balanced contrast of ideas, as in give me liberty or give me death. There is absolutely no other way to describe episodes 279 and 280. Seems like they represent opposite sides. 279 was outsourced, 280 is in-house. 279 featured plenty of uncommon animators, 280 is more like an all-star episode with only few familiar names. 279 sought a return of elaborate choreographies, 280 bets on conventional brawls. 279 had Goku win a game of rock, paper and scissors to fight Buu on his own. 280 starts with Vegeta being injured despite he hasn't gotten to fight yet, which is awkward since Hiroshi Toda wrote both episodes, I just don't get it. Though somehow these two episodes also got a few things in common, like their corresponding importance and their superiority to Toriyama's manga. I'm not kidding, the only canon parts of 280 are Vegeta's respect and the final clash. Vegeta taking on Buu would be canon as well, yet the anime decided to let him fight twice, before and after his big moment, whereas Toriyama let him fight only afterwards, which possibly makes his own depiction of Vegeta's respect a lot weaker compared to the anime, as if it almost lacked a tangible justification for him to admit Kakarot is better than him, like struggling against the main foe, even though he could have easily gone Super Saiyan 2 like in 281, but still. For a series who got us used to the visual roller coasters, ranging from top content to subpar results, having two good entries in a row isn't something you see every day at Toei. Unless you come to the Godly Wano arc, which I still can't figure out why it is so consistently terrific for being a weekly anime. Back in DBZ, Toei began supervising particular episodes in order to depict crucial events, like the introduction of Frieza, Trunks going Super Saiyan, Vegeta transforming, 17 and 18 toying with bikers, no, it's actually important, or Cell absorbing 18. Said episodes were supervised by different animators, from Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru to Takeo Ide, from Naoki Miyahara to Akira Nagami in GT. Only artists who stick to model sheets. Interpretation may differ, but we're very far away from cockpit-esque creativity. Nakatsuru was by far the most drastic, since his job didn't stop at correcting only, but also at redrawing entire layouts, as I don't like your Goku pose, so I'm going to treat him as an alpha like he should. Ide was, on the other hand, the most unpredictable, as nobody could ever escape his wild and beastly traits, especially in Z, but would look way more laid back in GT and modern days, nearly hit and miss masculinity. Then we have Miyahara, the most polarizing Toei supervisor, as I'm personally not a massive supporter of his corrections, especially of how he draws noses, but if his supervision was fine in 199, which I broke down back in 2018, here his swine features kinda mislead my regardless positive standpoint. Specifically, Miyahara gets to kick off his own episode with Buu laughing at Goku and Vegeta standing up wounded, unbeknownst to the audience since he hasn't fought yet. This is a classic method the show uses to establish calm before the storm, since once Buu headbutts Goku away, Tetsuya Saiki takes over with some conventional action. Unlike 279, which basically was Yamauchi's realm, here we get assorted punches, kicks and energy blasts, as tradition demands. Saiki isn't a tough name to ID, his wormy fingers do resemble Shida's quite a bit, his blocky timing, his wide action lines and Ide-esque roughness still get to shine in spite of corrections. Kazuhito Kikuchi is normally a good director, but his storyboards lack a bit creativity, which doesn't make him fair on the same level as Yamauchi or Ueda. The first two segments are entirely Saiki's key animation, the second of which looks very conservative, with nearly feeble movements, yet it remains an important battle as everyone in Universe 7 is following it, including in Otherworld and in Hell, as ogres and former enemies are watching the main event on their huge crystal ball, in what's Miyahara's section once again. His dynamic poses look fairly solid yet conservative, but they're not shown as much as the Twitch bystanders reacting to it, including Frieza being childish and Babidi rooting for Goku. So bizarre. Fortunately, the very next scene is far more compelling, as Toshiyuki Kanno handles the most elaborate piece of action of this first half. Ever since he provided key animation in the first Broly movie, he actually improved quite a bit as an animator, as his movements got less stiff, although he never fixed that distracting tremor that makes his characters look like they're freezing to death. But to his credit though, Takeuchi's tremors were even worse. Nevertheless, this is by far the most interesting segment, as we get some solid choreographed action and slices of atmospheric cinematography, like the moon momentarily obscuring Goku before he double axes Buu away, resulting in him curling in a ball and dashing at full force, with Buu turning into a smeary pinball wizard while chasing Goku. Kanno's scene continues with Buu hiding underground, whom Goku seems unable to spot. His character art didn't endure many corrections since his Jiren-esque traits are pretty much in line with the supervision. In fact, he's the only animator who needs no redrawing in such a context. However, once Buu emerges from underneath, laughing at the Super Saiyan 3, it's where the situation becomes awkward, since at least that should be a narrowly unrecognizable Takeo Ide, as a few uncorrected frames and trademark ear suggest. Unfortunately, the Kamehameha doesn't look like Hide that much because of Miyahara's suffocating presence. I wouldn't be surprised if it were to be him right off the bat, therefore I'd better be cautious. The heavy first half ends with Buu firing ki blasts at Goku, causing him to power down and collapse. It's quite absurd how Miyahara doesn't even hesitate to overwhelm one of the two character designers, an uncredited Tadayoshi Yamamuro, redrawing ears and jawlines, but oddly leaving his smoke uncorrected. After the commercial break, Takeo Ide handles Vegeta taking Goku's place, and this time there is zero chance of missing, as we got his quirks like his trademark aura, ears and shading. Then Akira Inagami animates Vegeta checking on Buu's army, completely engulfed by suffocating corrections, but his mime hands and impact frames make it way less confusing, and also the canon part with Buu easily demolishing Vegeta's pride in his base form, whereas he was a Super Saiyan 2 in the manga, only for the latter to try an explosive reaction to no avail, which is where Kanno enters again, showcasing his classic trembling timing on both characters, some rather competent impact frames, and Buu confirming his overall superiority. The aftermath is also his work, with Buu preparing to obliterate Vegeta's corpse for good, but Goku stops his evil ways and returns to the battlefield. And this is where Naoto Shishida makes his debut in this episode, tackling Goku's multiple transformations and him ki-eyeing Buu. Despite some shameless corrections, Shida's hard to miss thanks to his impact frame profusion, which recalls his modern stuff quite a bit, his distinctive Super Saiyan hair, and those particle scrum things. I'd like to put my hands on the original Genga, so that it would make my livid reaction more justifiable. Saiki intervenes on Vegeta admitting Goku's might, animating a limited chunk of action, but the moment we've been all waiting for is finally here, the long flashback montage of Vegeta's memories, which would normally sound like a pointless toy idea, but all in this case is actually functional to describe why Goku proved to be a superior warrior, and theoretically a perfect occasion to correct some mistakes, by either following Toriyama's manga panels one-to-one, or to make ugly content more appealing. The Saiyan arc portion finally recreates that panel that occupies the entire page, which somehow lacked in episode 28, even though Inagami's character art looks a bit too mature for the time. Yet it's indeed endearing to see Kikuchi depict the original panels of their first battle to near perfection, including the memorable Kaioken glare, completely butchered in episode 30, which contains Inagami's trademark aura effect. Same goes with the Namek portion, a total improvement over Studio Live version, with Goku elbowing Rikum depicted as he should, possibly also animated by Nagami, whereas Shida handles the artificial human part, with smug Vegeta going Super Saiyan, gushing with arrogance and overconfidence, again faithful to Toriyama's panels, which isn't exactly an improvement in this instance because Ueda only took some more liberties in 129. However, Kanno handles still shots of Vegeta defeating 19, with these big Big Bang attack looking more like a beam, but the portrait of his smugness looks so much better here compared to Izada's chubby version, which wasn't really that great. Moreover, it seems like Kikuchi was willing to fix his own mistakes, since the Rugby Scrum from 208 that he directed now looks more like a proper collective hug as it should. Although the Goku shot, while still looking leagues better than Last House's, isn't completely accurate, as the definitive representation of Toriyama's panel would be witnessed in the final GT episode. The log montage ends with more Ide, this time uncorrected at parts, leading to the absolute highlight in which Vegeta acknowledges Kakarot is truly number one, as Shida gets to animate more impactful animation. And if you've been following this channel for a long time, by now you should be aware of how much details mean to a top tier animator. Like Boo in pain after Goku knees him, which lasts not even a second but manages to catch our interest, or the two biting each other. Sure, its Goku afterwards isn't properly in between, but his reaction shots on Boo and his take in blooming smoke make up for this issue. The following section is directly taken from the manga, and even though Miyahara's supervision sort of gets in the way, Shida never misses an opportunity, as he executes it with the same spirit as ever. Those backflips look so competent, not to mention that roundhouse kick, so refined. Choreography may not be as complex in 279, but when you have another source of talent, you cannot fail in the slightest. And with this so desired uncorrected flurry, the episode meets its conclusion on a high note. Not sure whether it's objectively as great as the previous one, but remains a crucial entry regardless, in spite of my bias towards Miyahara's supervision. If it manages to make Vegeta's respect towards Goku much more earned than in the manga, it also succeeds in giving more justice to the final battle, thus contributing to turn it into the highlight of the Boo arc. Sure enough, this couple of episodes developed the main conflict so well, and I predict 281 will be as equally compelling. I guess the only way to find out is to support my content in general.